A very good evening. You're watching Republic. It is 6:30 and this is time for us to talk and get together everything that you need to know about the big G20 Summit. Remember, we are just days away from what's going to be a watershed moment in India's history. Also a system where we will have a lot of conversation around agendas and issues that matter to the world, and an opportunity for India to emerge as a leader of the global south. And is this the reason why China is already looking so rattled? In fact, the Chinese Foreign Ministry has made an official announcement now that the Chinese president will not be attending the G20 Summit in the national capital, and instead they say the Premier will be participating. And they continue to assert that Beijing is ready to work with all parties to make the high-profile meeting a success. Now, when asked that why is Xi Jinping not taking part in the G20 Summit, as expected, we haven't seen any reason that's come in from Beijing. And the US President Joe Biden has said that he's disappointed that his Chinese counterpart is not taking part in the upcoming G20 Summit in Delhi. Let's first up get you the reaction that has come in from the China's Foreign Ministry spokesperson and what they say about why Xi Jinping will not be participating in the G20 Summit.
应印度共和国政府邀请，国务院总理李强将于9月9日至10日出席在印度新德里举行的20国集团领导人第18次峰会。
So, all that we've heard is a very brief statement, Abhishek, from Beijing that say at the invitation of the Government of the Republic of India, the Premier of the State Council will be attending the 18th G20 Summit held in Delhi on September the 9th and 10th, Abhishek, but people want to know why. And a lot of people wondering whether, China is really getting uneasy now with the kind of towering personality of India, with the kind of consensus that India has been able to build around a lot of issues, and with the fact that possibly many say, Abhishek, that India could be the leading voice of the global south.
Well, Deepti, if an $18 trillion economy is getting unnerved by a $3.75 trillion economy, then obviously it's bang for the buck. What is important is that Xi Jinping has tied himself into knots. I think there are many reasons why he would not want to come. China has so openly taken a position which is so belligerent that they have annoyed not just neighbors but beyond. For example, today we are talking on a day when Italy's foreign minister has landed in Beijing and told them in Beijing that Italy is walking out of the Belt and Road Initiative. Also similarly, we have seen Xi Jinping releasing a map which has angered, annoyed every one of their neighbors, including Russia, a friend whom they had signed an agreement 15 years ago, settled the border, and now they are showing the same border in the new China map. So obviously, it's not just a feather or two that Xi Jinping has ruffled, it's many. Also, post-COVID, the manner in which realignment of both geopolitical and geoeconomic forces are happening, China's economy is in a bit of a tailspin. So, even if China is not a declining power, it actually continues to be a rising power. It's in a bit of a turmoil, and maybe that is the reason why, for example, it's not just about Xi Jinping wanting to avoid meeting Prime Minister Modi, because otherwise he would have had to talk about the line of actual control in Ladakh. It's possible that Xi Jinping also wants to avoid meeting Joe Biden, for example, because with the United States also it's a bit of a hide and seek going on. And there is an up and down in the relationship. And if you meet face-to-face with a leader, then you really have to come out with solutions. With Xi Jinping, perhaps, because he wants to remain the inscrutable leader, he does not want to. And that's the reason why perhaps he has decided not to come. Official announcement has come today that Li Qiang, the Premier of China, would be traveling in place of Xi Jinping. And just to give you an idea of the importance of Chinese diplomacy vis-a-vis G20, that this is the first time Xi Jinping is not coming in person to participate in a G20 summit. Now, coming back to the India-China equation, this is nothing but I can't help but say chor ki dadi mein tilka, because if you really are coming with clean hands, why not sit face to face and have a dialogue on what needs to be done about the line of actual control and the other pending issues insofar as the Ladakh stand-up is concerned, including Depsang and Demchok. Maybe he wanted to avoid that, that's why not coming.
But Abhishek, many would say that, this is pretty surprising considering that China again and again had been trying to say we have nothing to hide. There are a lot of issues on which it does get cornered. But then a number of summits and meetings that Beijing has skipped. Now, overall, why don't you give us the big picture? We do know that Putin is not attending this summit. So is not Xi Jinping. Now, is this a setback to G20? Is this a setback to the entire conversations around G20? Or you believe that this is an indication of a lot of global diplomatic shifts and perhaps new equations?
It's all of these, obviously, Deepthi. Xi Jinping is not coming, and one way of looking at it is maybe they wanted to compromise India's standing because a consensus statement of G20 from New Delhi in the form of New Delhi Declaration would have increased the standing of India, raised the standing of India in the Committee of Nations, and begrudging China does not want that, and that's why Xi Jinping decided not to come. Apart from that, as I mentioned, Vladimir Putin has very valid reasons for not coming. He did not go to BRICS Summit, for example. Most of these international platform events, he's attending via Zoom, via video conference or virtually. Xi Jinping traveled to BRICS. Xi Jinping traveled for the SCO Summit. And he has hosted world leaders. It's not that he's not meeting. And yet, in this case, he has decided not to come. So obviously, there is more than meets the eye, and it's just about Xi Jinping, not even an explanation. And that really shows the kind of unnerving response that's coming in from the Chinese vis-a-vis India.
All right, Abhishek, I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk as we build up to the big G20 and a lot of conversations where indications are that India possibly could be the new game changer and, looking at a lot of shift after COVID, whether it's the global chains of supply, the economy changing, and a lot of other things. So possibly we'll track that story and much more, Abhishek, as I thank you right now